Good morning, Bucknutters. Welcome to the Bucknuts Morning 5 here on Monday, March 22nd, 2021. I am Dave Biddle. I am joined by Steve Helwagen. A lot to get into today, plenty of football to get into. I do want to start off, kind of want to put a bow on the basketball season. The Buckeyes with the shocking loss to Oral Roberts on Friday. Man, that 15 seed beating a 2 seed. I never thought I'd see the day where Ohio State was the victim of that, but they were. Steve, not just that game. I want you're close to this basketball program. Year 4 of the Chris Holtmann era has ended. Everybody's a prisoner of the moment. Some people are extremely upset and think Chris Holtmann's not the right man for the job on our board. And you have other people I think are a little more even-keeled and are saying, no, he's the right guy. It's just a tough loss. Give me the state of the Hoops program right now as you see it.
Well, I put a headline up that it was a bitter loss to cap an otherwise stellar season, and people kind of took umbrage at that, like what was so great about it. And they did win 4 games on the road against top 15 teams. They beat UCLA and Notre Dame in the non-conference for whatever that was worth. And then they had that run in Indianapolis where they beat Minnesota, Purdue, and Michigan, 3 games in 3 days, and very thrilling. And at least it was entertaining. It didn't end up translating into any kind of a championship or a trophy or anything like that. No Nets were harmed in the making of this movie, but, I don't know. I think the program's on solid ground. Holtmann, to me, seems like a very solid citizen. I don't think you have to worry about any off-the-court issues. It doesn't seem with him or his players. And to me, I think you stay the course because I think you have got the makings of a team that can contend next year, with the proviso that they find somebody to play the point guard position. I presume it's going to be Michi Johnson. And they need to find somebody to play the center position because asking E.J. Liddell to guard opposing centers was not sustainable, in my opinion. So it really dragged down what he could produce on the offensive end. It was unfair to him to give up 5 inches to better than half the guys he was defending. And to me, I don't know, just a square peg in a round hole. They got to go out and get either Efton Reed from the high school ranks, and he can come in and play 15 or 20 minutes a game, or go out and get a John Harrar or from Penn State or somebody else who's accomplished, who's established, who is going to come in and give you great minutes right away. I was at Purdue at Mackey Arena for the game. To me, it was very disappointing. I didn't like Ohio State's body language in the pregame. I put this in the column that I wrote, that there was a delay in the start of the game because the Florida game had gone overtime. So they held the start of the game for a couple minutes with the guys all kind of standing around ready to go. And Oral Roberts' 5 starters came right up to the center line and just kind of stood there in their position for the tap. And Ohio State's guys were over hugging and dancing and doing all this rigmarole that they'd already arrived. They're the 2 seed. They've already arrived. And guess what? Oral Roberts comes out and blitzes your ass 7-0 to start the game, and you end up losing the game by 3. And then, of course, the free throws, the turnovers, not guarding Kevin O'Banner, not guarding Max Asmus. Add it all up. I mean, Florida didn't do any better against them. They lost to them as well.
It does take a little bit of the sting off, a little bit. That Oral Roberts might just be one of the better 15 seeds ever, that they went out and beat Florida and got to the Sweet 16.
We're all Oral Roberts now, Dave. We're all Oral Roberts now. And somebody put on Twitter that, what is it? I guess it's not that region, but there's one region where it's going to be either Loyola, Oregon State, Syracuse, or Houston in the Final Four. And I doubt many people, Houston's probably got some picks, but the other 3 certainly not. So very unpredictable, the NCAA tournament. And we learned that I think you could call this one of the worst losses in Ohio State basketball history, one of the worst defensive performances in recent memory. And yet, I don't think you throw out the baby with the bathwater here. I think you stay the course because I think you've got a potential top 10 team to start the season next year.
I'm with you. I think, again, I think people are prisoners of the moment, and
Oh,
I like Chris Holtman a lot. Of course, that loss stung, but I think overall he's got the program in a very good position. I think overall they overachieved this year. Really quick, I want to get your thoughts on recruiting. You touched on this a little bit. They do have Malachi Branham coming in, who led Akron St. Vincent St. Mary to the state championship, as you wrote about over the weekend. And Gary House, too, I believe, wrote about for our site. Great to see Gary doing stuff for our site. Recruiting, obviously, whether it's football or basketball, is the lifeblood of the program. Where are you at on Holtman as a recruit? Right, he's never going to be Thad Matta in Thad Matta's early days at Ohio State, probably, but seems like he's getting better. Malachi Branham's a big time guy. I like Zed Key. I think Zed Key's going to be a solid guy for 4 years. I don't think he's ever going to be a star. Eugene Brown, I have no idea. I didn't like what I saw out of him, but that was a very small sample size. And those are the only two guys he had originally signed in the 2020 class, a two-man class, till Michi Johnson, of course, reclassified. Where are you at overall on Holtman as a recruiter?
I'm okay with him as a recruiter. And let me backtrack. That list of 15s that have lost or defeated twos, some of those twos are Syracuse with Jim Boeheim, Michigan State with Tom Izzo, and they've been to the Final Four since that happened, and Mike Krzyzewski at Duke. And they've all lost as twos to 15s. To be a two, you've got to be a great team and a great program to get a two. And so there was some good stuff that happened this year. And I don't think it's the death knell of the program by any means. If those Hall of Fame coaches can bounce back from it, anybody can. So, or to put themselves in that position. Regarding the recruiting, he's had his share of top 50 guys. I mean, they got Carton, they got Gaffney, although Gaffney, in my opinion, was not a top 50 guy or top 100 guy.
Liddell was a great get. Two-time Mr. Basketball in Illinois. You don't think Illinois would love to have him and many other programs. That was a great get. Go ahead.
Great get. And obviously, Carton and Gaffney didn't pan out for reasons beyond the coach's, purview. Key and Brown were in some regards stopgap signings because they had recruited higher rated players, didn't get them, but jury out on Brown. I personally think Key is going to be a serviceable college player as a power forward. They didn't like playing Key and Liddell together because of defensive liability, they said. So whatever. They're the biggest defensive liability I've seen is that Oral Roberts tape. So, if you want to trade useless possessions at one end with people who had no business touching the ball for Zed Key not playing, then, die on that hill. That's fine by me. So kind of make your bed on that one.
I feel your angst. I love it.
Yeah, I'm a little conflicted on that explanation. So
and Musa Jallo played 32 minutes, man. Musa Jallo played 32
and no
minutes.
production.
He played like 6 minutes.
Great kid. I think Musa Jallo should play 15 minutes a game as a defensive stopper, as a changeup, get him in there. If someone's getting a heater, you stick Musa Jallo on him and you calm him down. Okay, recruiting. Michi Johnson, if he's healthy, is a national top 100 player. In our system, they reclassified him to 2020 and somehow moved him out of the top 100 where he was in 2021 and moved him out to like 140. That doesn't make any sense to me, but it's a computer glitch, whatever. It's wrong. He's a national top 100 player. Did he play like it this year? No, but I don't think he was expected to give him a whole lot, and honestly, he really didn't. So it was a great experience for him. Is he going to be ready to take over? I think he plays 20, 25 minutes a game next year. Doesn't need to play 35 because you've got Jallo and Washington and Sotos who can all play the point guard position. So I think that's going to work itself out. And as far as going forward, they've got 2 national top 60 players committed for next year with Bruce Thornton, the point guard from Georgia, and Roddy Gale, the shooting guard. He's from New York. He's playing at a prep school in Utah. Their 2 teams, Thornton and Gale, are going to play in the Geico Nationals coming up in a week or so on ESPN. So you'll want to make that appointment viewing just as Branham was last night. Branham, to me, is going to immediately move right into the top 5 or 6 on this team next year. He's going to take minutes away from Jallow, Arns, Brown, whoever, because he has to. He's just too good. And, you may have to live with some things with him. He's not a great 3-point shooter, but he can improve on that. He's national top 30 player, should have been a McDonald's All-American, bunch of bull crap. And they got 2 program players. Kalen Etzler, rangy 6'8" forward, could probably play the 3, the 4, maybe even the 5 if he grows up. And then Bowen Hardman, a shooting guard from Cincinnati Princeton in the 2022 class. Program player, wants to be a Buckeye, maybe another Arns, maybe better, maybe worse. We don't know. And they still got to go out and get that center, Dave, either Efton Reed or a John Harrar on the aftermarket or whoever. So I know that's much more basketball than you football people care about, but we'll sit here and talk basketball all we want.
Well, let's switch gears and talk some football. We're going to talk with Ryan Day here in just a couple of hours, 11:15 a.m. Buckeyes are practicing right now as Steve and I are recording the show here at 9 a.m., and we're going to get a chance to interview Ryan Day over Zoom at 11:15. I believe this is practice number 3 for the Buckeyes today. So when you look at football, Steve, when you look at spring football, when you look at our chat with Ryan Day later today, what intrigues you the most? What's like on your mind the most when you look at this Ohio State football team as they're kicking off spring ball or have kicked it off?
Well, I think people are going to be quick to make a lot of assumptions and judgments, and I don't think you can do that yet because the first 2 or 3 days of the spring, I'm having a hard time talking. They are in T-shirts, jerseys, and helmets. They're not in shoulder pads. So really nothing has really transpired yet. They've worked a lot on fundamentals and walkthroughs, and this is what it'll look like when we put pads on, but they haven't put pads on yet. So I think you have to kind of delay any judgments. People are going to push, day to day, who's looked good so far. We'll get that question, and he will not answer it. He typically will say, oh, there's so many guys. If I tried to name you 1 or 2, I'd leave somebody out and make them mad, is his stock answer to that, which is basically his way of telling you nothing. So, until we get a chance to put our own eyes on this with maybe a scrimmage situation or something like that, where we could see, oh, he threw late over the middle in double coverage. That's a mistake you can't make. Oh, he got hit from behind. He fumbled. Ooh, can't do that. Those kind of things. Until you see with your own 2 eyes, it's going to be impossible to make any kind of real value judgments. Everybody looks at the recruiting rankings and says, oh, CJ Stroud's got to be the heir apparent to Justin Fields. He was heavily recruited. He's a top 50 guy. Kyle McCord could steal this thing. I mean, and I'm not predicting that. I'm just telling you, be prepared for the unthinkable, maybe what you did, the unexpected, I guess, because there's people talking about the offensive line like they've stood right there in the meetings with Greg Studrawa. Well, he should be the guard and he should be the tackle. Well, how the hell does anybody know? We don't know what Greg Studrawa and Kevin Wilson and Ryan Day are thinking about that. We're not watching these reps. And, until they tell us what they think they're going to do, it's kind of just we're feeling our way in the dark. So Paris Johnson, it'd be great if he gets to play. Just rest assured, if Paris Johnson's not playing, they've got 5 pretty good offensive linemen somewhere across there. And, whether that's Harry Miller at guard or center, I don't know. But to me, those are the 2 big things, quarterback and offensive line shaking out with that center. And then over on defense, you got 3 open spots at linebacker, an open spot at cornerback. And I think Zach Harrison's taken over at the spot Cooper had at defensive end. So, another defensive tackle is requested, maybe Teron Vincent or Jerron Cage or somebody. They moved Enoch Vamahi over there for one of the bowl games when they were down because of COVID. And I just wonder about that. Could he be another, Tommy Togi guy, space eater, strong guy who moves piles? I don't know. Maybe that's intriguing to see where Enoch Vamahi is lined up because they don't need him on the offensive line. He'd be about the 9th name listed on the offensive line, but they could definitely use the help at defensive tackle until the freshman Hill and some of them other guys grow up. So I don't know, Dave. Those are my thoughts. Again, we don't know what we don't know because we're not there. So, we're doing the best we can to make sense of it, just like everybody else.
Yeah, you touched on last thing here on the show. You touched on something I wanted to talk about. Zach Harrison, right now, if you had to pick a guy that has improved the most since the season ended, talking to Ryan Day and talking to Zach Harrison himself and some of the other guys, seems like it would be Zach Harrison. It seems like since the season ended, he has just dedicated himself to football. He says everything that he's doing, he's going hard. Every rep in the weight room, every rep that they're doing, when they're running, doing anything like that. Now they're in spring ball. Everything he's doing is full speed. And he said maybe his effort wasn't where it needed to be. Ryan Day was gushing about him, just again, not about how he looked so far in spring ball, to your point, but just how hard he's worked so far in Mickey Marotti's program the last month and a half, 2 months. That's great to see, because we know Zach Harrison, the 5-star pedigree, Steve. Talent was not the issue with him, and he looked really good, I thought, as a true freshman. This past season didn't look that good. If Zach Harrison can realize his potential and be a force for them opposite Tyreek Smith, I mean, they're going to be collapsing lines of scrimmages, and that's going to be so much fun to see. Your thoughts on Zach Harrison? It sounds like he is really stepping up.
Got to be very excited about him. I actually have a good friend of mine who works at Orange High School who knows Zach on a personal level and vouches for him through and through as a person. And to me, I am excited about it. My wife actually was on social media and found the picture of him looking like a bodybuilder, for goodness sake.
Yes.
He has got muscles on top of muscles, and you just hope that translates into production. He was actually among the team leaders in sacks and tackles for loss, even though people thought it was not a great year for him. And I think with a full 12, 13, 14 game season, however it turns out, he's going to put up some huge numbers. They really need Tyler Friday, Javonte Jean-Baptiste to show up behind Tyreek Smith and Zach Harrison and provide great support. When they get in a game, they need to produce immediately. And there's no excuse for those guys now in their third, fourth year, whatever. It's time. The moving sidewalk is ending. Please look down. It's time to move into the production phase of your college football career. And I'm excited about that 4-man group. And then you have a young kid, Jack Sawyer. I think I put a photo. I think it was him. I haven't got the roster in front of me. If he's 33 and we put a photo of him out there, man, he looked good too. So, again, he didn't play last year, sat out the high school season, and, we'll see if that worked to his benefit or his detriment. But, yeah, I'm excited, Dave. I think Harrison's got that angular look as an athlete. We want to invoke the Chase Young comparison. That's maybe a little bit unfair, but maybe this year it won't be. So we'll have to wait and see.
Great stuff from Steve Helwagen. Thank you very much to Steve. Once again, head on over to Bucknuts later today, Bucknutters. We will have the full video and a story on what Coach Ryan Day has to say to us at 11:15 a.m. Thanks again to Steve, and thank you to all listeners out there for tuning into the show. We appreciate that very much. Have a great day, Bucknutters. Let's hear that Buckeye swag, best damn band in the land.